everyone. This is Waldorf.
And this is Statler, hesitation there.
And today we're talking about Oathmark.
Oathmark, Battles of the Lost Age.
Correct.
So the rules came out, I guess it was this late spring or early spring. We had a little bit of delay getting it here across the pond with all the COVID closeouts and stuff happening.
Correct. Yeah. We've only had it for, what, a couple months? 2 months or so?
Yeah, I think it was June or July before we finally got a copy.
Is it that early? Okay.
We did that original review.
Okay.
So the first rules came out, and now there was a second release, which is Battlestorn, which we still haven't gotten a copy of.
Right. Our local store hasn't picked that up.
Hasn't been able to get that. But they did get, somewhat surprising to us. I walked in somewhat surprising because I was waiting for Battlesworn, and then I walked in the store and there was Oathbreakers sitting on the shelf. It's like, gotta get me some of that and let people know.
So I'm the same way. I missed Battlesworn, did not get to pick that one up yet, but I do have Oathbreakers.
Right. So the original rule set is the hardback.
Correct.
And now the Oathbreakers, and I think the Battlesworn is probably the same, judging by the price.
Judging by the price, I think it is.
These are softbound books.
Correct.
So yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about Oathbreakers.
Right. 80 pages of goodness.
It is. Primarily adds the Undead to the game.
Right.
As a fifth race.
Yes, which was what we cared the most about, because one of the complaints about the game is there's just not that many races to choose from, and this adds one, arguably two, depending on how you want to interpret it.
Which is another reason for doing one of the things I'm not a big fan of in the game, and that is mix and matching armies.
Right.
Different pieces from different armies. If you have just a few armies, then that kind of makes more sense and kind of justifies that, in the rules to me. I'm a more mono army type of thing.
Yes.
Anyway,
we're both in that same camp.
So, first thing is you open the book is what we're talking about, the Undead armies. It adds the Undead to the game.
Right.
And along with the Undead, it adds one of the models they added, rules they added as well as Undead, is chariots.
Right.
Which may show up at other times,
Because right now the Undead are the only ones that can have chariots.
Correct. So
they rationalize it as it's old technology. But they basically have two different kind of Undeads. They have Revenants and they have Skeletons. So the Revenants fight more like regular guys. And the Skeletons are kind of worse fighters, but they... it's really
cheaper.
They're just cheaper.
It's kind of like the Orcs and Goblins.
Yeah.
They have the Goblins who are not as good, but cheaper than the Orcs.
Right. So. And all the units have a number of special rules, which we'll get to in a little later. But they have different kinds of infantry. They have different kinds of cavalry. They have chariots. They have their undead worm thing that's hard to get orders.
Yes, the big scary monster that's dirt cheap, but doesn't do much.
Well, it does if it actually does something.
Correct.
If it does something, it does a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
But so you get a lot of units to choose from. You get different, levels of infantry, and like one of the neat things about Skeletons, they're not allowed to have the parry rule.
Shielding.
Correct. Shielding rule, because I guess they're too slow.
Too uncoordinated, but then the Skeletons are also kind of very resistant to missile fire.
The bow fire, yeah.
That's a good point. Need to make sure that's clarified. It is just a bow fire.
So you get plenty of different troops to choose from. We haven't tried out. We have an earlier battle report or later, depending which one of these gets posted first. But what has a lot of the guy took a number of units, but he didn't take any chariots, so we can't comment on those from a
correct
tabletop perspective.
They were fairly expensive, if I recall.
Yeah.
But anyway, next thing they added to the game is legendary heroes.
Yes.
And this is an interesting thing too, where you can take one of your heroes, or one of your models.
One of your character models.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a character.
Oh, it doesn't? I thought it had to be a character.
No, they actually go through the whole example with you doing it with a troll.
Oh, yeah.
But you can take a model. It can't be a enormous model. And I think there may have been another restriction on it.
Right.
I'm not sure what. But you take this, you add a 30 or 35 point
30
cost to
30
it,
points.
and he gets in a bonus ability.
Right, which you choose from.
Correct.
Now, if you're into the campaign aspect of it, which we're not, but
Well,
you can
speak for yourself
there
there.
you go. You could actually add more abilities as you get more experience from the
Correct.
list.
Yeah, there's rules for him participating in a battle. He gains so much experience.
Right,
Once he gains enough experience that equal his point cost, he gains another ability.
right,
So if you are using like a troll, well, a troll 60 points plus the 65 points plus the 30 for the making him a hero. Now you have to reach 95 points before he gains a second ability.
right.
Whereas if you play just an orc guy who's a
If
30-point
you're
guy,
playing a level
don't worry.
5 mage, you're going to be waiting a long time.
You're not getting anywhere
Yeah, 400
anytime
points.
soon.
You know,
It's a good point.
yeah.
And some of the good abilities are for
Yeah,
mages,
and they
by the
have all
way.
different kinds of abilities. Yeah, some for mages, some for fighting, some for bonuses. So
Right.
it's kind of neat
It's
because
a nice mechanic.
because we tend to play more tournament style, I'll call it, whether it's in tournaments or not. So normally you only have one ability, but it means that you can make either your general or a special champion. You just do
Right.
something different.
And it's a one-use thing.
Well, it depends.
Sorry,
Depends what it is.
almost all of them are one
Yeah.
use. Some of them are. There's at least one that
Oh,
that lasts throughout the game.
yeah, there's a few that do
Is
multiple
there?
things. Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so
So
Legendary Heroes. It's
so that,
another nice addition.
yeah,
To
so it adds a little extra to the so now you can have characters. There's a small list in the basic rules of some magic items, but now you can also give an ability to one guy. So
Right.
there's a little bit more variation.
And with the undead, there's a more of a reason for magic items because there's undead. One of the undead rules, which
Yes.
we probably won't show up, but one of the special rules is I forget what shadow form,
Yeah.
which means if you don't have magic, the most you can roll is
If you don't
two
have
dice
if you don't have
against
a
it.
magic weapon, you can't. It's
Right.
harder to wound a thing. Yeah, that's true.
So you can see we're about halfway through the book at page 42,
Yes.
and now they have 3 little mini campaigns of 3 scenarios each.
Right. You can also use them as standalone scenarios.
Yes, but they're kind of designed to be run 1, 2, 3 because if you gain a bonus from the results of the first one when you fight the second one,
Right.
not a major bonus, but there is something there.
Right.
So it kind of sets them as that. Or like you said, you can just run them as independent scenarios.
That could be an interesting idea for a single day tournament. You know, you
Oh, you play through it.
you just play through it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Makes it a little harder for the matchups, but
Correct. Well, you could take all the winners on one side, all the
right.
losers on the
And so
other.
you have to take the time to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, so that's there.
Oh, there's shadow form.
That shadow
Of
form
course,
made the list.
can't read the photo. Can't
No.
read the photo, but yeah.
So the new special abilities, these are where they added the
Right.
limited maneuvers and limited movement are both chariot rules. Shadow forms an undead rule, and then
Right.
they have the undead rule itself to where when they lose combat, they automatically pass their morale, but they lose models based on how bad they lost.
Right. So there's the uncaring rule, the undead rule, and there's a third one I can't remember.
Unthinking.
Unthinking rule.
Unthinking's a little brutal because that means you roll 1 die less for activation.
Right.
Most undead are activation 4 though, so I mean it's not terrible.
Well, then there's the unthinking, the one that if you don't have any mages left, you crumble.
No, that's the spellcaster control.
Spellcaster control, yes.
Right. Yes.
So that's only applies to skeletons, so you have to better have some
And
redundancy with your mages.
At least one of the monsters also has that.
Yeah.
It might be the big gribbly thing you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
it does. The worm does have that. Yeah.
So, but these rules definitely add a lot of flavor to the undead and give them a feel that's different from the other armies.
Right.
Um,
So but not too many. All of the new special rules are specific to the undead. They're except
Correct.
for I guess the limited movement and limited maneuvers, which are chariot
which
rules.
so far are limited to the undead, but
Yeah.
that may change. I'm expecting it to change at some point.
Yeah.
Oops,
Went too
I think I
fast.
went too fast, didn't I? There's the back of the book, by the way.
Yeah.
We skipped ahead.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, and the spells.
And the spells. Oh, there's the other.
There's the uncaring and unthing.
Yep.
And spellcaster control is the top one that's blurred out.
Right.
The 4 rules we just talked about.
Yeah. So now they add a new lore path of spells specific for necromancers,
Mm-hmm.
and they can take. So a necromancer can either be alive or dead, if I remember correctly.
Correct. You can take the Lich rule
Right.
to it's like a 10-point upgrade to make you dead,
Yeah.
which gives you the Undead rule, I think.
Yeah. Then you can actually join units, I think.
Correct.
And they have their own spells, and two of the spells which are written on this list is they kind of like raise spells. There's a raise skeleton spell type. I don't remember what it's called, but
Revive?
yeah, cast on like a 4 or 5, and these are on D10s, by the way. And if you are successful, there we go. You get one single skeleton
Right.
back. If you roll tens, though, you can get extra guys up to 3.
Right.
Then there's the other one is for the Revenant guys. All they can do is I think it's a 7, and they can get one guy
One
back.
guy. But that one guy can be a 70-point knight.
Yeah, because they can be quite expensive.
Right.
Or a chariot or whatever, yeah.
Ooh, the chariots aren't revenants, are they?
I thought they were part of the Revenant list, aren't they?
Don't know. We'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
Too bad we don't have a book.
Too bad there's not a book sitting right next to us.
There's not a book sitting right between the two of us that either one of us could have looked at.
Yeah.
Let's see real quick. What was that? Corpse file skeletal.
But yeah, so they have, and then the other ones are just the normal attack spells and bonus spells and things of that nature.
It is a revenant chariot.
I thought so.
Look at that.
How many points?
150.
Yeah, there's one you want to get back.
Yeah. Does the revive do that?
It's just a single wound, right? The chariot's got multi, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't work on the chariot.
Oh, okay.
The cast the spell works on warriors, line breakers, or cav.
Okay.
You immediately gain back one model.
Okay. The line breakers are the elite guys. They get like one better armor.
Correct. One better fight, I
One better
believe,
fight
too.
value, yeah.
So, anyway. But yeah, that's the
So the primary thing is really to add the undead. I was a little nervous they were going to add a couple units, and they were going to be kind of like the other. Oh, you can just add them to your army type of thing.
oh, not an entire
Not
army.
an entire army. I was a little nervous about that, but so I'm really happy that it's an entire army. Not only is it an entire army, it's an army with a lot of options.
Correct.
It's
more another so than large army like armies. The Orc and Goblin army.
Yeah. So that's nice. And you get your own spell list. So and with the special rules, it definitely on paper you've played against it. I've only seen it on paper, and I've seen it played, but I haven't played. It definitely seems like it has its own feel, which is something you want to see, and particularly in this game.
Yeah, definitely. At this point, like I said, I've only played Orcs and Goblins at this point, but I've played against all 4 of the other armies.
Right.
And like I said, each game felt different.
Yeah.
Based on what I was playing. So I think the Oathmark game in itself has that going for it.
Yeah.
It was one of the things, again, you mentioned before, it's one of the things I was concerned about as well, and that was that there wasn't going to be a feel for each army.
Right.
Which I ran into in other game systems.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far, good.
So this is good. So this is the third, but it's definitely a must, I think, if you got the Oathmark rules, this is a must book to get.
Correct.
You are never going to do anything with Undead.
Right. I think the Battle Sworn, which I have not picked up yet, but from what I've read, is more of a campaign book.
Yeah. I want to see it because, it seems to be it's built around campaigns and, and engineering, which that could be interesting.
Okay.
Like river crossings and stuff in Castle Siege.
And I definitely want it because I do want to play a campaign game in a campaign system, whereas you're not so enamored with that.
But I do own a castle.
And I do own a castle.
And I have lots of river terrain, so
yes.
Yeah. But I'll give it a shot. But
something to use a castle for.
There you go. But this is, I think, is definitely a must buy, and hopefully this is the direction they're going to go, and hopefully they'll add some more armies going forward.
Correct. I mean,
some lizard people or rat people would be really helpful.
Yep. Maybe lizard people, rat people, definitely good choices. Yeah. So there's a lot of those models out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta
for different systems.
Yeah, some beastmen type. I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't done a beastman army of some sort because they have those cobalt models and they have that new line of like fawns and centaurs that North Star also sells.
Making.
So
maybe that's the direction they're heading in next.
Yeah, hopefully that we'll see that as an upcoming kind of army. But with people out there with armies from various systems, it'd be good to try to draw those in. So probably another 4 or 5 armies. Well, probably 4 is enough. And at some point, I'm curious now that they've introduced chariots, if we'll start seeing more stuff like that for existing armies.
Yeah, that's the other thing I would, again, if they keep the support of the army and keep going with these books, if they get enough interest, I'm sure they will. But I would like to see a supplement book that adds one or
Right.
two units per army.
Yeah.
Add this and this for this army, this and this for. I don't want to get to the point where every army has everything, because again, to me that blurs that you know
Yeah, I agree.
feel for an army. If everyone has a chariot, it would not feel right to me.
Right.
Um,
Oh, I actually wouldn't even mind if they like this is the Undead book with the rules that are specific to the Undead. If they started coming out with these as more army book design type of things, even for the existing armies.
oh, to come back out with a
Yeah,
orc and goblin
I play
centric
Orc and
book and
Goblin, so here's the Orcs and Goblin spells, and so you
okay,
don't have all the extra stuff and just the special rules that apply
oh,
to the
yeah,
army and stuff. I think it'd be a nice little way to make money. So,
yeah, they
and
would
then
definitely suck us in.
add in a couple of extra things,
Right.
to make you have to buy it. So,
Yeah, part of a campaign system or
right, or
whatever.
just some. Oh, it's got three more units in it.
Right.
Oh, I really want to play with that wyvern or whatever. So,
Correct.
but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Like I said, I've played. I've only played 4 games at this point, but had a great time with it. I think it's a fantastic. I like the game a lot at this
yeah,
point.
it's a fun game. It's a easy game mechanic wise, but it's a subtle game.
Correct.
Um, there are games out there that if you're really into matchups and things of that nature and much more cerebral, those games exist too, and we play those also. But if you just want to throw something out, maybe with somebody who hasn't played the game, uh, played a fantasy game, I think this is probably not a bad place to start because
Correct.
it's simple enough. It's got enough complexity. It's not boring. It's not like playing checkers.
Based on the initiative system and everything, I think this could actually make for a decent multiplayer, smaller games
I
that
think
we
so too.
do too as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's very good for. That's one of the
Where you
things that
play
excited
three
me.
players on a side
Yep,
and see what that works because
exactly.
the rules are simple enough that some of the things you run into in a bigger game like that when you try to use one to layer that onto an existing game is the other a lot of the other games we play have these running combats
Right.
where you get it stuck into a combat and you're just there for a while.
Yep.
This one is every combat, it's more of an ancient, it's more akin to the Ancients game
Yeah.
we've played, where
And
you run into a combat, you dice off what happens, and then they bounce.
right.
They split one way or another.
Yeah.
The combat
Everything
breaks
always
up.
ends. Plus, there's nothing shared. There's no shared initiative. There's no shared like pips or whatever that you allocate.
Oh, correct,
There's no shared magic.
right,
You activate your mage and he just goes.
correct.
So those things do make it, I think, much more yeah
Time
beneficial
efficient. Yes,
for a multiplayer game.
correct.
Well, time efficient. I think these games probably take because it's not I go you go and you move you somebody who's indecisive could really slow down a lot because
Yes.
you got to decide which unit you're going to activate and what they're going to do, and I can see that.
And I've seen that myself. I mean,
Yeah,
I ran into games I've played where it's like, okay, I need to do this, but I also need to do this. One
right,
of these has to happen. I'm
exactly.
going to go second in one of these. Which
Yeah,
one is more important? So,
it's kind of like Age of Sigmar has that with melees. You have to decide what order you do them in,
right.
and it's kind of the same kind of deal, but since it's not all the same turn. But yeah, it's
Anyway,
anyway
yeah, 4 games
interesting
in,
book.
looking for more games. I'll be continuing.
Yeah,
Again, if anybody knows of an official FAQ, please post it on the
yeah,
notes
because
because
we haven't been
I'm
able to find one.
I'm really looking for it, and I hope the guy who wrote this game, I forgot his name already.
Something McCullough.
Yeah, um, I would hope he would come forward and step up and do that as a support.
Joseph A. McCullough.
There you go. Oh, you found that on the book that's
That's
sitting right
right.
there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Anyway, all right. Definitely recommend it. And
So yeah, you can get it in
yeah,
paper or in digital.
you can. And there's the back of the book,
There you
which I previewed for you a little bit
go.
ago.
Yes.
But we thought we'd save it for the end as well. All right. Anyway, thanks for listening and have fun.
Till next time.